the pandemic has necessitated this year-long postponement and a transfer to this virtual format. Thank you for your understanding, your patience, and welcome to the 2020-2021 Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame inductions. Tonight, there will be 6 new inductees that will have their names inscribed in the annals of Ottawa's rich sports history and into the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame. And as ever, I must say, a very impressive list. The members being honored have had a profound impact on our local sports scene, and they each have made their mark on the national and international sporting stage. They could not have achieved what they have without the unwavering support from their friends, family, and their fans. So let's give a virtual round of applause to all of you for your support and welcome to these deserving sporting heroes to our hall. The Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame exists because of its donors and sponsors. And if you'd like to help support the preservation and celebration of Ottawa's rich sports heritage, you can visit ottawasporthall.ca to make a donation. And for every donation, the Hall will send you a small thank you gift of an Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame neck gaiter, and your name will be added to the online donor wall. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our 2021 Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame inductees. Dave Smart, Marina Zenk, Derek Holmes, Dr. Don Johnson and Phil Ashcroft, John Therien. I would now like to introduce the chair of the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame, Dave Best.
Thanks, Dean. Well, welcome to our 53rd annual and our first virtual Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame induction dinner. Things are going to be a bit different this year, I know. And first of all, I'm going to be introducing the inductees in a little bit, but first, I want to thank them each for their patience. 18 months ago, we inducted them. We told the people who were going to induct them, we haven't had the dinner yet. This debacle of a COVID came through, and 12 months ago, we wanted to have a dinner for them. We haven't had it yet. So now we're going to go virtually. So inductees, thank you for your patience. Our mandate at the Hall is simple. We celebrate Ottawa's sporting heritage. We do it in many ways. We have induction dinners, virtual or not. We have an Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame, a physical Sport Hall of Fame, where I am right now. You can see in the hall right here. And thirdly, we do special projects every once in a while. And this year we're going to introduce a photo challenge to the public. More on that later. Right now, about the hall. Who's in the hall, or who is the hall? The halls, we're a group of volunteers we love sport, we love sport heritage, we love telling people about it, and we want to figure out new and better ways to celebrate our sporting heritage. As hall board members, we get one big question all the time. How does Uncle Bob or Aunt Sally get in the hall? It's easy. Someone has to nominate them first. Okay, so to be sure, you go online to our website, get a nomination form, gather the salient information that's requested in the form, write it out, press submit. And yes, you can mail it in as well. That's it. Big point though, if you're not nominated, you won't be considered for selection next year. Speaking of selections, this year we're considering it the class of 2020, 2021. Not just 2020, that was last year. These are our only inductions this year. So last year's inductees being inducted this year. The next class will be 2022, and we'll select them in the fall of 2021. Nominations are open on our website until the end of October 2021. Thank you very much. Special thank yous to two major government partners this year. One is the city itself. It's our longest partner we've ever had and our largest one. Our plaques are in the hall here, and that's been fantastic. So thank you very much, City of Ottawa. And our newest partner is the Province of Ontario. Not a coincidence, but it's really nice to have the sport minister for the province be a local MP, Lisa MacLeod. Through her department's Reconnect program for festivals and grants, festivals and activities for grants, we've received basically the possibility for hosting this event this evening. That's great. With that said, I'd like to invite Minister MacLeod to say a few words on behalf of the Hall.
Hi, my name is Lisa MacLeod. I'm Ontario's Minister for Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries. I'm also the proud MPP for Nepean and formerly Nepean Carleton for the past 15 years as of March 30th, 2021. I want to welcome and thank all of the recipients this year of Ottawa's Hall of Fame. You've done a tremendous job in sport in ensuring that not only are your sports, whether it's hockey or basketball or jiu-jitsu, are recognized, but also the great work that's been done on sport medicine as well as officiating. And I can tell you, as a proud soccer mom and a hockey mom and the Minister of Sport in Ontario, how important sport is to not only our cultural fabric here in the province of Ontario, but also to our economy. And I know as we move forward and recover through COVID-19 and we kickstart our sports organizations and leagues again, that sport will provide a healing opportunity for us to come together and once again ensure that Ontario athletes, their coaches, trainers, and fans will be back and celebrating again. As we aid the recovery, it's one of your very own inductees, a serial leader who will be helping aid our recovery in sport through Sports for Ontario and the $3 million grant I was able to provide his organization so that we can look and build back better in sport, including more LGBTQ plus BIPOC communities, as well as our children with accessibility issues. And we want to make sure that sport in a post-COVID-19 environment is not only welcoming and not only about high performance, but that it's attainable. And so I just want to thank all of the trailblazers here today. I'm sorry we can't be together in person, but I know someday soon we will be able to be in person together and we will be able to celebrate the incredible role that sports plays, not only in the city of Ottawa, but across Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister MacLeod. I'd now like to introduce His Worship Mayor Jim Watson to say a few words on behalf of the City of Ottawa.
Hi, I'm Jim Watson, Mayor of the City of Ottawa, and it's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the virtual edition of the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame 2020 induction ceremony. Despite not being able to acknowledge the inductees in person, I'm proud to know that they will be honored for their contribution to Ottawa sports heritage. I'd like to recognize the 6 inductees for 2020: Dave Smart, Marina Zenk, Dr. Don Johnson, Phil Ashcroft, John Therien, and Derek Holmes. Congratulations to all of you on the well-deserved induction into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame, and thank you for all you have done for sport in Ottawa. Merci beaucoup, and please take a moment to visit the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame once the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted right here in the Heritage Building of City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Watson. This year, instead of a guest speaker, we've decided to speak with someone in a more conversational way instead of a speech. Someone who has been immersed in the Ottawa sports community for over 35 years and one of the best, actually he told me to say the best broadcaster in the entire NHL. I have the great privilege of having a conversation with my partner in the broadcast booth, Gord Wilson. Now, in these unprecedented times, Gord can give us some insights into what it's like to have COVID, to have a mild heart attack, and to lose a good chunk of your income, because all of those things describe Gord's year so far. First, yes, Gord, let's go back over a year. You and I, the Senators, were in California, and I remember being in Anaheim when the NHL informed everyone that there were going to be new COVID protocols, and we didn't even really know what COVID was, but they were going into effect immediately. No locker room access, no access to players within 6 feet. Everything changed, and it all changed right there and right then.
Yeah, it certainly did. I didn't know what protocol meant a year ago today. I certainly didn't know what Zoom meant, but do now. There's been so much that has changed. And you know what? Before we get started here, may I offer congratulations because to our inductees, our 6 inductees, because as you said, 35, almost 40 years in the sports business in this city. It is a great privilege and an honor to be here, Brownie, and thank you very much for the invite, folks. And congratulations to our 6 inductees. All 6 have made very indelible marks, not only in their own fields, but in our city, which is one that I'm very proud to be a part of. I can tell you as well firsthand, I speak firsthand in saying that Dr. Don Johnson left 3 indelible marks on me personally back in 1988 when he reattached my left ACL in my left knee. I can tell you, Dr. Johnson, 33 years later, I'm still able to do a pretty good jig. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, Dean, it has been an interesting year to say the least.
Now, we, during that Western Road swing, we found out the league was going into pause. We were sitting on an airplane, actually waiting to find out. We were in the airplane while the Board of Governors meeting was going on, deciding what they were going to do, and we couldn't fly until they made their decision, because if they decided the season was going to continue, we were flying to Chicago. if they decided they were going to put it on pause, we had to fly to Ottawa. So we had to wait, because if it was Ottawa, they had to put on more fuel, change all the immigration stuff. Anyway, we ended up obviously flying home. And at the time, the league said they were going on pause. I remember thinking at the time, Gordon, that flight home, which was a pretty quiet flight, I remember thinking, well, pause, they're going to shut down for a couple of weeks and then they'll get a handle on this, whatever it is, and we'll just continue the season. And obviously that didn't happen. Go back to that plane ride home and, what was running? You and I were sitting right beside each other, but you might have been thinking different things from me.
Well, you know what? When we were told that it would be on pause, my first thought was, okay, this is going to be a week. We'll get through it. The National Hockey League is the National Hockey League. Their protocols are very, very top in line with everything else that's going on in the world. And we'll get through this. After a week later, we'll be back to business. And certainly I held out hope actually until about June that the Senators would be able to finish at least a portion of their regular season. What did we lose? 11 games? I think 11 or 12 games. With that in mind, though, it was an unpleasant feeling sitting on that plane, not because I was sitting close to you, because we've done that for 29 years, but the fact that there was a great unknown that we were heading into. And I think, the night before when we were doing the broadcast with the Senators and the Los Angeles Kings, the NBA sort of set the tone just before we went on the air. It was during our pregame show that the NBA announced that their season would be on pause. And we really did. I think the two of us talked about this during the intermission when we were off the air, that it didn't look good for the National Hockey League and that they would likely follow suit. And one thing that we did regularly throughout the broadcast was check our Twitter accounts and check the league announcements to see if, in fact, something was going to be definitive that night. So we got a little bit of a hint, at least I did, the night before our long flight home and our long sit on the plane and on the tarmac, basically. But, there was never that thought for me that this would be long term, and certainly going 10 months was right out of the question in my mind.
What I said off the top is true. Last year, you had a mild heart attack, you missed some games, you contracted COVID, and we've all taken a financial hit, just like a lot of people in society have. But let's go through your experience with COVID. People want to know, you obviously had it, you survived it. But let's go back to the beginning. Do you have any clue, Gord, where you think, I guess there's no way to know exactly, but where do you think you contracted it from?
It's interesting because we hit California just as California was getting on COVID fire, if you will. That was the scary part about it. The state of California really did start to explode with numerous cases. Do you remember going into Anaheim? The Senators had a practice on Monday, and the Anaheim Ducks had practiced before us, and they had a school day skate where they invited 15,000 kids into the building. And this was when we just left San Jose, and they had declared, I'm not sure if they declared a state of emergency at that point by the time we left, but there was certainly some uncertainty as to whether the Senators would play the San Jose Sharks that Saturday night. We go into Anaheim and have that practice, and so it could have been exposed. I could have been exposed. Any one of us could have been exposed there, and then it was on to Los Angeles. I'm thinking, though, Dean, to be very honest with you, I may have contracted it on the plane. My immune system was down, and you'd mentioned the heart attack. I had the heart attack on, February 16th, and I came back to work a couple of weeks later, and you're in the same line of work as I am. We just love our jobs and love the opportunity to broadcast. I didn't want to miss too many games, so I probably did hurry myself back to work. And then obviously going on a California trip, I was more than a little stressed at the thought of hopping on a plane. I had to get medical insurance, via email, and it was just a different feeling for me. And so that being said, my immune system was down. I wasn't at 100%. You get to California, you go through all the rigors of not feeling good, trying to do the games, trying to be as good as you possibly can, and then we sit on the tarmac here, and I'm as run down as I've ever been. So getting home, obviously didn't feel all that great getting home, and then realized probably a day later that this was, and I said to my wife, Trish, if this is the flu, it's like a flu I've never had before. And she eventually said, because she's in our business, in the broadcast business as well, she said, we better get you checked out here. And it was an obvious yes for me. And I guess that doesn't really answer your question, because it could have been any one of a number of spots that we had visited together.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing. I guess I'm very immune, because on the planes, you and I sit beside each other. There were players that contracted it. Another member of the staff contracted it, and I have had nothing. But when you got it, people ask me, when they ask about, how's Gord doing, they ask, what did he go through? Because there's a whole myriad of different things you hear about what the symptoms are. I found it very interesting when your wife Trish was talking about it. When you kind of quarantined in your own home, she has recounted publicly about, hearing you coughing and trying to breathe, and that really raising her concerns at one point when you were probably in the thickest of it. But just go through the things that you had, like some of the symptoms that you had when you actually were in the tightest grip of the COVID.
Well, it's interesting, because I think the first time that I said, if this is the flu, it's like a flu I've never had before, it was walking up a flight of stairs, and I couldn't catch my breath. I was exhausted, and I've never slept more in the afternoon than I did those 2 weeks when I was experiencing the COVID side effects, if you will. And so that was part of it. The exhaustion, the heavy chest, the coughing, the difficulty breathing. It was more, extremely severe muscle aches more than anything else. And the flight of stairs, trying to get up the flight of stairs, and just sort of standing at the top of the stairs, leaning against the railing. And, your kids, or Trish, is looking at me, and they're saying, you're going to be okay here. And I said, well, I will be as soon as I lie down. I had sort of sequestered into a spare bedroom almost immediately. I think I slept with my wife, Trish, on the Friday night when we returned home. But by Saturday morning, it was, this is not good. You have to work Monday. I don't, because we're on pause. Let's just separate here right now, and I'll separate from the kids as well. And we also had to add insult to injury, which was a blessing, because we had one of our children in New Zealand. My second oldest daughter was traveling in New Zealand, so she was able to get a flight home. And actually, Trish just showed me a picture the other day of two of the kids sitting at the top of the basement stairs, and Lindsay sitting at the bottom of the basement stairs, the 25 feet apart. Lindsay's having her meal at the bottom of the stairs, and the kids are joining her upstairs, or joining her from upstairs, while sharing a meal. I was in another bedroom, and Trish was in the kitchen. I mean, it was just nutty in our house, but we did our part. We did what we were supposed to do in terms of self-isolating, and it really did keep everybody safe and healthy, which is a huge plus.
Now, you're done with it, but not really. You and I have talked about this. First of all, on the technical side, you and your family are involved in a study, number one. But number two,
Yep.
There are, for some people, and you're one of them, there are some things that remain, and you're still not through those yet. What are those things, and what's that like? And I'm talking specifically, amongst the other things, about the brain fog.
What? About what? Yes, the brain fog is real. And I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, folks, believe you me, but there are a lot of times now where I just lose train of thought. And not so much a complete train of thought, you just lose certain words that you're thinking of that you want to say, and those words just disappear from your memory. And when I read about this COVID fog being a thing, it was like when you lost your sense of taste and smell. I thought, oh, okay, well, this is just part of the cold here. And then I read about COVID's symptoms, and that was part of it. And I thought, okay, this is it. I've got COVID. That was that. As far as the brain fog is concerned, there's no question. It to me at least, it's real, and it has affected me. And I'm 60 years old here now, so I think it has a different effect on everybody. I have to keep in mind as well that I had gone through the heart condition. I wasn't in the greatest shape of my life. Certainly, I had difficulty catching a full deep breath for a number of months afterwards. And it wasn't until June when I started to really get, again, another rundown feeling, and I really couldn't get myself, and I had started to be a little bit more active physically, but could not completely get a full set of a full deep breath in my lungs. And at that point, I went to my cardiologist and said, what I was experiencing. And he said, you're going to need a pulmonary function test. And thought, okay, let's go through that. And it didn't, obviously with our medical system the way it is, and unfortunately there's such a heavy load on the medical system, it wasn't for another 6 months that I got the test. And I almost decided I was going to cancel it and not need it because I was feeling that much better. My lung capacity felt that much better, but decided to go through with it anyway, and just had it actually recently, and everything looked good. Apparently, according to the studies and the test results, everything seemed fine. So I'd like to say 12 months later that I am back to where I certainly felt 12, 13 months ago, which is a huge plus.
And finally, Gordo, I want to get your thoughts before we move on to the professional side of things. You know, you and I were talking again in the booth, and you made, I thought, a really poignant point the other day when we were talking as it relates to COVID. There might not be a team in the league more affected by COVID than the Ottawa Senators. And that's not in people having it, but the effect on development, about young players, about fans in the stands, like the whole ball of wax. There might not be a team more affected by this than the Ottawa Senators. Yeah, I don't doubt that for a second, Dean. This is a hockey club that really did implement a plan a couple of years ago where there was going to be a rebuild. It wasn't going to be a retooling. It wasn't going to add a player here or a player there and sprinkle in a couple of young guys. This was a full rebuild. This was say goodbye to some very key veterans on this hockey club that had made the hockey club very successful, and integrate young players into a system that we're going to develop together. And the plan was, moving forward, that these young players would get better on an everyday basis together. And if there were some that were caught a little behind, they would develop in the American Hockey League, and then they would be brought in at the NHL level. Well, the American Hockey League took a pause as well. The whole hockey world shut down, basically, and I don't think there has been a team more affected than the Ottawa Senators in terms of trying to implement their plan. And as a result, I think the plan is going to need another probably full year of development and an 82-game season at the NHL level and at the American Hockey League level, and then see where they lie as far as their production is concerned. But I don't think there's any doubt, in my mind at least, and I think you would share the same thoughts, that this is a team that will be on the rise when you've got the likes of Brady Tkachuk, and you've probably called his name more than any other player on the Ottawa Senators in the short season that we have had so far, and for good reason. He is a complete leader. Thomas Chabot, Josh Norris, look at Tim Stützle here, Jimmy Stu here, is going to be electrifying as time goes on here. And you know, I get excited just thinking about it, and I can tell you do as well. We get up into the broadcast booth and you look down on the ice and you think of what's ahead in the future. And it changes your perspective here, because there was a time when you got up into the broadcast booth and you looked down at the ice and you thought, oh boy, how has this team changed? There's no this guy and there's no that guy. Well, now you look ahead and you go, wow, what's the future hold in store for this guy, number 7, and this guy, number 72, and number 9, and number 18. It's going to be a fun ride for sure. Yeah. That's what I always say to people when they ask me. I always say, I guarantee you it will get better. I guarantee you it will get better. Just like you. You're getting better. Listen, Gord, thanks very much for doing this. Much appreciated. My pleasure. And again, thank you very much for having me. And again, congratulations to this year's 6 inductees. All right. Thank you, Gord Wilson. We will see you in the booth, my friend. Absolutely. Now let's return to our inductions. Tonight, the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame is inducting individuals that have changed the face of sport in our great city. In their own unique way, they undertook challenges that many thought not possible. They overcame adversity, and they assisted in changing the sports landscape and heritage of our great city. Here to induct the new members of the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame, I'd like to welcome again the Hall's chair, Dave Best.
Thanks again, Dean. As with many of you, I can only be jealous of the accomplishments of our inductees tonight, green with envy of their accomplishments and their success, and proud that they're from Ottawa and they've really helped us celebrate Ottawa's sporting heritage. For our first inductee tonight, Dave Smart, longtime basketball coach at Carleton University, and almost as much as anyone since James Naismith and nearby Aylmont invented the game, he has helped put Ottawa and basketball on the map for the city. Ladies and gentlemen, our first inductee this evening, Please welcome Dave Smart to the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame.
The most successful coach in Canadian university men's basketball history, Dave Smart has helped make the city of Ottawa synonymous with basketball greatness. Smart's teams have won an astonishing 13 national titles, and he has won the Aberdeen Trophy as U Sport Coach of the Year 9 times. In addition to his varsity coaching career, Smart has also worked with Canada Basketball on numerous occasions. Dave Smart was inducted into the Order of Ottawa by Mayor Jim Watson. Prior to the 2019-2020 NHL season, Smart was appointed a coaching consultant by the Ottawa Senators. Inducted into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020 in the Builder category, Dave Smart.
Our next inductee is Marina Zenk. Not only did Marina do well at college level hockey, very, very well, she morphed that into a very long, successful career in refereeing women's hockey. So good at it, she was the first ever women's referee at the first ever Olympic women's hockey game in 1998. Please welcome to the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame, Marina Zenk.
Before becoming a highly respected hockey official, Marina Zenk was a point-a-game scorer in 4 playoff seasons and the 5th highest scoring player in OCAA history. Following her playing career, she became a highly coveted international referee, serving as the head arbiter in multiple world championships. She was also the head referee at the first women's gold medal game at the 1998 Olympics in Nagano, Japan. National recognition continued even after Marina retired from officiating. In 2001, she received the Hockey Canada Female Breakthrough Award, which honors an individual who has made a significant contribution to the promotion and/or development of female hockey in Canada. Inducted as an athlete and builder into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame as part of the class of 2020, Marina Zenk.
First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to Dave Best and his committee for putting this all together in such short notice, and a huge kudos to him and his team. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow inductees for all their accomplishments and distinguished recognitions in each of their sports. As I was gathering some photos and going through my collection of items, I was reflecting on my career as not only a player but as an officiator and an administrator. What really stood out to me was the remarkable opportunities that I've been blessed with throughout my career. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Ontario Women's Hockey Association, Gloucester Minor Hockey Association, and the Ottawa District Minor Hockey Association. At a local and provincial level, I was blessed with many opportunities, and the individuals that helped me along my career, the number of supervisors and instructors who helped me achieve all that I have. I was very blessed with many opportunities throughout my career, and I was fortunate to pursue at a national level, and I was really fortunate to be able to travel the globe. And as I was going through my box of collection of photos, what was really remarkable was the number of people that I had the opportunity to meet, and to this very day, many of us are friends. When you're really given the opportunity to be able to contribute as a volunteer in any sport, it's an incredible experience. And the one takeaway when I was told about this award was I was really over the moon, and a lot of humility came with that. And I was really a pioneer in the sport, and I was given the opportunity to build the foundation, not only on a provincial level, but on a national level, that allowed the opportunity for future officials to basically have better opportunities and more opportunities with ease today, and to be able to contribute to the success of somebody else is truly a blessing, and I'm very grateful to have been given that opportunity. And one thing that really motivated me as an administrator and planting those foundations were what Glynis Peters, Mel Davidson, and Shelley Coolidge did on the women's game. I felt there was a need to have the base of female officials keeping pace with the level of game, because there was fear that we wouldn't be able to sustain it because the numbers were so low. And, you know, as one door closes, another door opens. And I was very fortunate with being presented with so many opportunities to help grow the female officiating program, and I'm very grateful. So I truly am honestly, like, I'm speechless with what this award means to me, but it truly is an amazing an achievement, and that one that I'm very proud of. And you know, like all things, you never accomplish anything on your own, and I'm very grateful for all the people that have helped me achieve all the success that I have had in the sport of hockey. And I share this award with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Marina. For our next inductee, it's staying with hockey again. Longtime administrator, captain of Team Canada back in the 60s, European scout, European agent, director of Hockey Canada back in the 70s and 80s, Derek Holmes. Please welcome Derek Holmes, hockey builder, into the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame.
Derek Holmes, like many Canadians, lives and breathes the sport of hockey, but few have had such a prolific impact on the game both at home and abroad. He began as a player, toiling through various leagues, winning championships, and even serving as the captain of the Canadian national team in 1968. At the conclusion of his playing career, he went on to serve the sport in a wide range of roles, from coach to general manager, both at home and internationally. He was the executive director of Hockey Canada in 1975, the manager of the Canadian national team in 1978, and Hockey Canada's first technical director in the 1980s. From 1980 through the early 2000s, Derek was one of the first agents for elite players from Europe, carving the way for many agents and representatives. Inducted as an athlete and builder into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame as part of the class of 2020, Derek Holmes.
I'm delighted to be inducted into the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame, and I'd like to thank my nominees, Jim Keon, Des Keon, and Pat Draper. They did a lot of spade work on this, and I thank them dearly. I have an Ottawa connection. I grew up in Kemptville, did all my early sports there, and I'd like to be remiss if I didn't mention a number of people who helped me during those times. My dad died at 9 years old. I was 9 years old, and but I received a lot of help from that community, from guys like Sam Gaw and Lowell Craig and Ralph Hurley, and it was a good building blocks. Anyway, it kept me off the streets. Further on, I had a number of connections with Ottawa. When I started to play junior hockey, it was suggested by Jerry Moore and Rosie Tyrrell that I should go off to Europe because it was my kind of hockey, big ice surface, lots of skating, which I did. After spending 3 or 4 years there, I ended up coming back to Canada with Lulafave and Hockey Canada, where I spent 10, 12 years at a time when Hockey Canada was a going concern with the likes of Eagleson, etc. around. Anyway, thank you ever so much to the Sport Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Derek. For our next ones, we've got the tag team of Physio Phil Ashcroft and Dr. Don Johnson. So many of us at so many levels of sport have had knee injuries. These guys, they created the first ever in Canada sport medical clinic at Carleton University, put Carleton on the map, of course, for sport medicine themselves, and so many of us have gone there before. Phil unfortunately passed away the other year. With us today is his daughter Lynn Douglas, so please welcome Phil Ashcroft via Lynn Douglas and Dr. Don Johnson into the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame.
Chances are that if you were an athlete competing in Ottawa during the 1970s, you may have been treated for an injury at the brand new Carleton University Sports Medicine Clinic, a world-class innovation created by two pioneers, surgeon Dr. Don Johnson and physiotherapist Phil Ashcroft. Both entrepreneurs were athletes themselves, including being avid marathoners who ran the inaugural Ottawa Marathon in 1975. Back then, Dr. Johnson was serving as the team physician and trainer for Carleton's football and hockey teams. He also held similar roles with Canada's 1976 Olympic teams, the Ottawa Rough Riders, Senators, and Sooners. Johnson would eventually become a specialist in ACL reconstructive surgery, performing more than 12,000 ACL procedures in his career. Phil Ashcroft was one of the head physiotherapists for the New Zealand All Blacks and several professional soccer teams before moving to Canada. Together, they created one of the first clinics in Canada to provide diagnosis and treatment for the injured athlete and the active community. Inducted as builders into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame as part of the class of 2020, Dr. Don Johnson and Phil Ashcroft.
Thank you for this incredible award. It is particularly satisfying since it comes from the community where I have worked for some 40 years. I'm also very humbled by looking back at the past recipients of this award. I'd like to give you just a brief history of how we started the Sports Medicine Clinic. In 1973, Carleton University had just completed a new physical recreation building, and there was an empty field house adjacent to the building. Kim McQuaig and Keith Harris asked me if I would set up a one-stop sports medicine clinic. This was a new concept to me. I knew very little about sports medicine and knew even less about how to build a clinic. I asked one of the injured football players at the time, who was an architecture student, if he would have a go at this, and he did, and did a wonderful job. He was particularly proud of the hand-painted sign that he did that stood on the front of the building for many years, and you could see that from Carleton Avenue. Carleton was also a bit ahead of the time when they opened the clinic to the general public instead of just the students. This provided a great community service and also provided a viable income for the clinic. I knew little about the sports injury aspect of it and asked Phil Ashcroft, Physio Phil, if he would join me. We knew each other from jogging around MDMC in the early 70s. He said he would join me, and he took a giant leap of faith in leaving a stable job in the government to come and work at this new endeavor. We were joined a little later by Jim Howe, who was a general physician, and he had an interest in athletic injuries. Bob Jackson taught me how to do arthroscopy in 1973, but I didn't do my first removal of the torn bit of meniscus until 1979. Before then, it was an open incision and removal of the entire meniscus, so it was an improvement. I didn't do my first arthroscopic assisted ACL reconstruction until 1985. This was a tough time. The learning curve was steep, and becoming a jock doc was not recognized. Some of the senior surgeons razzed me and ridiculed me, said you should open that knee like a man. To change the spark plugs, you have to lift the hood, and so on. However, I persisted at it and eventually made a significant contribution, I think, to this greatest advance in sports medicine, which was the arthroscopic assisted treatment of joint injuries. So, sports medicine doc, I felt it was the greatest job ever. And again, I thank you for this award.
My father would be so very humbled and honored that his years at the Carleton Sports Therapy Clinic are being recognized with this award. When my father and Dr. Johnson set up the sports medicine clinic at Carleton University in the early 70s, sports medicine was truly in its infancy. And when you look around Ottawa today, it's hard to believe that specialized sports medicine in Ottawa began with a chance meeting with Dr. Johnson, jogging around the National Defence Medical Centre at lunchtime, and a tiny physio clinic attached to a doctor's clinic, both dedicated to treating sports injuries. It was really a dream for my father to be able to dedicate what was meant to be a small pre-retirement practice to treating athletes. With his love of sports, my father was taken with the vision of a one-stop sports medicine center where an athlete could be seen by a doctor, have an x-ray, and if necessary, casting, and then move on to physiotherapy, all at one site. And being an avid athlete himself, my father understood athletes, their injuries, their needs, and their desire to get back as soon as possible to their sport. The physio clinic started very small, but the excellent reputation and expertise of the clinic staff resulted in the clinic soon bursting at the seams. And my father would be the first to recognize and praise all those who worked over the years at the sports therapy clinic for the clinic's success. And I would just like to mention Ginny, Mike, Chuck, and Wally in those early years. What people really noticed, though, when they came to the clinic was a truly upbeat atmosphere. People were always joking and laughing, and patients came back for years with their injuries, and very close friendships were formed. I wish my father were here to accept this award. I am sure in his mind it would more than make up for being denied his first choice of career, denied by his mother his first choice of career, to be a professional soccer player. So on behalf of my late father, my family, and all those who've worked at the Carleton Sports Therapy Clinic over the years, thank you for this award.
Thank you, Lynn and Dr. Johnson. We can't go very far in the martial arts world without knowing John Therien. John Therien was a noted athlete himself, instructor, coach of many national level athletes. But he's probably more widely known as a leader, as a mentor for many, many martial art athletes over the years in Ottawa, in Ontario, in Canada, and yes, internationally as well. Welcome to the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame, John Therien.
John Therien is synonymous with martial arts in Ottawa and Eastern Ontario. A 9th degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, John has earned the prestigious title of Hanshi, which means leader of leaders. Through his schools and scattered throughout the region, John has coached and certified thousands of students to black belt status over the last 50 years. For nearly 2 decades, he was the manager and coach to 23-time world kickboxing champion Jean-Yves Thériault. Therien was inducted into the Canadian Martial Arts Hall of Fame in 2010 and is currently the executive director of the World Kabuto Federation, and he is a mentor to other instructors around the world. Inducted as an athlete and builder into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame as part of the class of 2020, John Therien.
Greetings, everyone. My name is John Therien, and I'm so honored today to be inducted into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame. I'm an Ottawa born and raised guy, and I've seen so many great athletes come in the Hall of Fame, and I'm in the builders category, guys like Howard Darwin, who was a hero to me, and boy, did he have stories to tell, and that's sports. But we're going to miss everybody because it's not a live event, but I'll tell you that this means a lot to me, and there's thousands of people I would like to thank for being here, and those are all the students that I've had over the years, the people who believed in what I did, and that together we walk a journey of 50-some years, and we are here today into the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame. So to all the athletes in Ottawa, to all the builders, keep up the good work. We live in one of the best cities in the world. Even COVID's not going to let us down. Thank you, everyone. and I wish everyone a safe journey for this year. And thank you for this award.
Thanks, John. Ladies and gentlemen, wide audience, please welcome the 2020-2021 Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame new inductees. Thank you. Together with the City of Ottawa Archives, we've come across with a new project this year called a photo challenge. In the past, the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame and the city, we own a lot of iconic photos in Ottawa sporting heritage. We own Ottawa Silver 7, Stanley Cup champions in the early 1900s. Picture a classic picture of Frank Amiot, the canoer, the only gold medalist for Canada in the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin. Barbara Ann Scott, everyone knows Canada's sweetheart, but she's Ottawa's sweetheart as well. We have millions of photos of Barbara Ann Scott from her Olympic glory days and World Championship glory days in the 1940s. In the 50s and 60s, the Ottawa Rough Riders were a very strong team, winning many Grey Cups with Russ Jackson, picture here of Russ Jackson winning the Grey Cup in 1969. Liz Manley touched our hearts with an almost perfect, flawless skate in Calgary in 1988, coming up with a silver medal. We have photos of Liz doing that. And a beautiful picture of one of the fastest ever 4x100 meter runners of all time, Canada, with Glenroy Gilbert, Ottawa's own, the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta. But we want more photos. So today, we're launching the Ottawa Sport Heritage Photo Challenge. For information, go to our website, our Facebook page, all kinds of social media there. We want you to submit your pictures of your history, but also famous pictures that you may have seen. You were at Grey Cups, you were at Stanley Cup games when the Sens went there, at various events as well. Somehow we'll get your event into the hall, maybe not as a member in the hall, but on the hall website, on our Facebook page, anywhere. So we're going to induct this challenge. We're going to have monthly challenges, monthly prizes for it coming out. For more information, go to the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame website and our Facebook page. I thank you in advance for submitting your photos and your sport memorabilia. We're looking forward to it. I once again want to thank this year's inductees. Congratulations, and yes, thank you for your patience. That said, I look forward to seeing everyone, this year's inductees, the audience, everyone, next year at next year's inductions, hopefully in person. Dean?
That brings to a close the 2020 Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame inductions. Congratulations to our new members. Our sincere thanks to Minister Lisa MacLeod, Mayor Jim Watson, Gord Wilson, and all of our sponsors and partners. We certainly hope that next year's induction ceremony will be an in-person gathering. Don't forget to go to ottawasporthall.ca to make a donation if you're able. Also post pictures in the photo challenge. And I would encourage everyone to nominate anyone they believe belongs in the Ottawa Sport Hall of Fame. Again, thanks for joining us, and as always, drive safely.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Behold Emily Carr, painter, about to encounter the force that will consume her life.
tightly they sealed their secrets from me, humble and pleading before the great trees, awaiting the invitation from the Spirit to come meet me halfway. Nothing is still now, everything is alive. At last, I knew I must see through the eye of the totem itself, the mythic eye of the forest.
Seldom able to live by her brush, before she died in 1945, Emily Carr was in the first rank of Canadian painters.
This is my country. What I want to express is here, and I love it. Amen.
You know the story. When the RCAF said Mach 2 fighter, 2-place 1,000-mile range, the British said it was impossible. The Yanks tried twice and failed. They said, you're dreaming. We said, fine, we'll build it right here in Toronto. And now you guys, my guys, are saying that it can't be done, that they were right?
Now that's the rocket that we use to get the model up to speed, and then the onboard sensor tells me.
Come on, baby.
Damn it! But we did it according to your specs. The specs have changed.
We did it.
Arrow 201. You're cleared for takeoff.
Although the government canceled the project and destroyed the prototypes, the Avro Arrow remains for Canada a world benchmark in aerospace achievement.
Johnny wanted to go back home. It was 1,000 kilometers away. They forced him to go to the Indian residential school. More than 150,000 of us children had to go. They wanted to change us.
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name.
Hallowed be your name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done. Kill the Indian and the child. It's been called cultural genocide. I survived residential school. My brother Johnny did not.
Chani Wenjack was one of thousands of children who died due to Canada's residential school system. More than 80,000 survivors and their families still live with its legacy today.
Here we go. You can't do this, Jacques. It's never been done before.
Mr. Blake.
You can't see down with that thing.
Mr. Blake.
Jacques. What?
They're coming.
Hold them up. Find something. Jacques, I'm telling you for the last time.
Are the Canadians finished? Is the plant coming back on the ice? Come on, give us something, will you? How many stitches? Gentlemen, please. Hey, Tommy, you got something to say to the people in the hall?
On November 1st, 1959, Jacques Plante of the Montreal Canadiens broke with tradition.
You're a brave man, Mr. Plant, standing up to him like that.
And changed the face of hockey forever.
To the rafters in the Edmonton Arena. Everyone is feeling the pressure on the Grabs as they await the American champs. Here's the Cleveland favorite Knits now, and boy, do they look impressive.
Look at their uniforms. I bet you could sure run in smart shorts like those.
Not that. Look, world champs, my eye.
Grads, we don't play for glory. We play the game for the game's sake. So tonight, you're going to earn that title by playing your game. Teamwork, passing. Let's show them what it means to play the Grads.
The Edmonton Grads were champions for 25 years. The record of 502 wins and only 20 losses is unmatched in all of sport.
Treaty in Cree is Naskomitoin, an oral agreement. And our agreements were always spoken. For George Spence, the core of treaty was wichihioin, to help one another.
And so we, the commissioners...
He was there for the making of Treaty 9, where the Cree were told...
We will honor this agreement together, for as long as the sun shines and the waters flow.
The Cree made their mark because they were assured that the land would be shared, and they would always be able to harvest what they needed. George Spence was my great-grandfather. In his life, he saw many promises of the treaty go unfulfilled.
Treaties were essential to the creation of Canada. First Nations still fight for the agreements to be honored.
We were born in Canada. We spoke English. On the streets, we weren't welcome. But on the field, we were the Asahi. Vancouver's champions. Everyone cheered for us. Our people had a voice. Then Canada declared war on Japan. They took us from our homes, called us enemies, forced us into camps. But we brought the game with us. Baseball helped get us through the internment.
The Vancouver Asahi were among the 22,000 Japanese Canadians interned during the Second World War. The team never played another game.
What do I like? I like open fires, moonlit nights, chatty letters, rainy days. I like daydreaming. I love this colorful little island of ruby, emerald, and sapphire. Yet often my dark moods come. I'm possessed body and soul by this depression. They say women shouldn't write. Some days I almost give up. But I cannot contain my imagination. I made Anne real. I gave her my love of nature, my love of books, and my childhood dreams. My greatest happiness would be to climb the alpine path and write upon it a woman's humble name.
Lucy Maud Montgomery battled depression, rejection, and sexism to become known around the world for Anne of Green Gables and 19 other novels.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally. And that's when I first saw Wilf. And I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.